tier list. Tier list. And I'm thinking about patch 6.0. I'm not talking about like once this next patch comes in with the chamber changes and whatnot. I'm talking about like the patch 6.0 where the maps also change, because that's going to be a big thing, right? So we have to think about the agent changes. We have to think about the map changes as well, and where this meta is going to shake out. Obviously, we don't know the new map, but we do know the 6 maps that will be in it. This is what I see the tiers as well here, is S tier to me is like you need a nerf. A tier is going to be like you are a meta pick on, let's say, at least 2, maybe 3 maps, and like a very solid pick on, you know, most of the other maps. A B tier agent is like you've got like maybe 1 or 2 meta maps, right? And you're like a good pick on a couple of the maps. Maybe there's a couple maps that you aren't so good on. A C tier pick to me is like you have maybe 1 meta map and, you know, like you're a niche pick on some other ones. And a D tier to me is you're a niche pick on every map. You don't have even 1 meta map. Let's begin with Breach. So Breach obviously got the nerf. The Rolling Thunder is going from 7 cost to 8 cost. So instantly that's a nerf. But there is map things to consider here as well, right? And I think the pick rate of Split will be higher for Breach than the loss of Bind and Breeze. I would call that like the highest B tier is where I'm going to put Breach. I think he's like going to be the highest B tier agent. Brim. Everything is the same, but for Brim, the maps is a massive, massive deal. So really, when we go through these maps with Brim, you know, you're looking at Ascent, no. Fracture, yes. Icebox, no. Haven, no. Split, no. Pearl, no. Like, that is the definition C tier agent, right? He's got 1 map where he's meta, and then looking at the rest, honestly, no. So Cypher, obviously the chamber changes kind of come into this as well. Obviously, he just recently got the kind of buff and whatnot. This was a big reason why Cypher wasn't that good before, is because he lost his best map, right? It's like I said with Neon. If Neon lost Fracture, Neon would seem useless as well. And it was much like Cypher with Split, where he lost his best map by far. But he's getting it back. And assuming that, you know, there's still a lot of the same setups available, I'm going to assume that Cypher is going to be the best pick on Split. I think Cypher is probably like a good contender for like the top of C tier. And Jett, I think, was, you know, probably the main winner of the chamber nerfs, because a lot of, you know, team comps will want to have one or the other. So this is quite an interesting one, actually, of where to put Jett. It kind of depends on, I think, what you see the future of Haven being. Go on up. I think let's put her at the bottom of A. Obviously, she's the only one in A right now, but I think she will be the bottom of A. Okay, Omen. Omen got a tiny buff in the Paranoia. Still don't really know why that happened. Doesn't really make much sense to me, but they did it. And you add in Split, which unless there's major changes to where you can't do one-ways on that map, you'll probably see a lot of Omen on Split as well. 3 are Omen maps. 1 is a niche pick. But if the other map comes out and it's an Omen map, Omen, I think, becomes S tier. For now, I'm going to put him at the top of A. Phoenix did get a small buff. The Blaze went down in cost. Other than that, Phoenix is still pretty bad. Sorry, Phoenix. Yeah, Raze is still going to be pretty good. Did lose Bind, which is a big sad for Raze. But did gain Split, which kind of, you know, is probably going to be a 90+% Raze map anyway. So, you know, tit for tat. So that to me is where a big part of this comes down, because you've got Split as like 100%. You've got like Fracture, maybe Icebox you want to throw in there. You've got Pearl in there as well, where you're kind of like, you know, Raze is seeing some pick rate on those maps. And then you've got Haven, which is like, will that still be a Raze map or not? I'm going to go with, I'm going to guess yes, which is the reason I put Jett at the bottom of A tier, because if I thought that Jett was going to be like the choice on Haven again, I might move Jett up. So I'm going to put Raze in between Omen and Jett. Okay, Sage. So Sage obviously got some changes. The wall fortifies a bit later. The healing is a bit different. Big old win for Sage. Again, Sage losing Breeze. Thumbs up for Sage. And Sage losing Bind. Like, Sage was still okay on Bind, but not like good. Definitely better on Split, I think, overall. And Pearl, you see a bit of Sage as well. So weirdly enough, I think Sage might be the first agent that I look at all 6 of these maps, and I actually go, You could play Sage on every single map of these if you wanted to. Low A tier, kind of next to Jett, I think. But let's talk about Sova. So Ascent could be an interesting one, where it'll probably be, you know, somewhat 50-50 maybe. The loss of Breeze is big for Sova, because Breeze was like the one map where Sova was very, very clearly better than Fade. And there wasn't really a debate. So it was 100% pick rate on Breeze. Now that Breeze is gone, and you've added Split, which isn't a Sova map, that's not great. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. Viper. So Viper did change a bit. Nerfs to the Viper's Pit, of course. It's now an 8-cost ult. You can now go outside of it less as well. Viper lost Breeze and Bind. Breeze is 100%. I mean, Bind is like a 90% Viper map. That's a lot of pick rate to lose for Viper, to be honest. You know, Viper kind of got... I mean, gaining Split is like maybe Viper will see some play, but I don't think like a ton. Right? Maybe like 20% pick rate on Split or something like that. But, you know, not like meta. Viper might be B tier. Let's not waste too much time with this one. Reyna, D tier. Obviously, this is a pro play kind of thing, like what the pro meta will be, which kind of somewhat shapes the meta, but Reyna is kind of the big exception, of course. Okay, Killjoy. Killjoy, I think, is a big winner from the chamber nerfs as well. And Killjoy also got the lockdown buffed as well. This could be big for if you're a Killjoy main, this is your time. Killjoy mains are rising right now. So to me, I think Killjoy, I'm gonna put Killjoy in the B tier with like I like Killjoy is like a potential serious riser. And especially if the 7th map comes out and is a Killjoy map as well, then we're talking about serious rising into like A, maybe even S tier in the best case scenario. If like, you know, Haven became a full-time Killjoy map, Icebox becomes a full-time Killjoy map, Pearl sees quite a bit of Killjoy play, the new map becomes a Killjoy map as well. So Skye lost Bind and Breeze, which, yeah, it's kind of like the worst case scenario. She also randomly got nerfed. I mean, the Trailblazer are costing more, the regrowth costing less. Like, it does make sense. Like, for how good those abilities are, changing their cost to what they change them to absolutely makes sense. So, yeah, we go through the maps of Skye. Ascent, no. Haven, like, barely a bit. Fracture, probably not. Icebox, no. Split, maybe a tiny bit. Pearl, maybe a tiny bit. But I'm legit going to put Skye in the D tier. Yoru also getting the Skye treatment. That's not ideal. Yeah, Yoru, we don't need to spend too much time on. I'm going to put below Phoenix, but above Reyna. Losing Breeze and Bind. I mean, Bind, she saw a bit of niche pick rate, but it's not the end of the world. Gaining Split, I think that will be a bit more of an Omen map if I had to predict. So to me, you're probably looking at like, I think Astra is like the highest C tier agent. This is one of the reasons that I didn't like that Omen change, the Paranoia. Because one thing Astra had over Omen was that Astra's pistol buy was simpler and made more sense and was better than Omen's. But now that the Paranoia is 250 and you can buy a smoke Paranoia and shields and have like a really good pistol buy, like it's just another reason now like Omen has a better pistol buy than Astra did. Okay, now we come to KO. Now KO, obviously the ult did change from 7 to 8 cost, which is a good change. So S tier to me is nerf worthy. Is KO nerf worthy? I kind of think yes. Now, I kind of think I don't think KO needs big nerfs, particularly after the ult going to 8 cost. I don't think KO needs to be like destroyed or anything like that. But I do think maybe a slight nerf. Slight. Be it something like, you know, the time that you're suppressed is less, right? Instead of being 8 seconds, it's 6 seconds. You know, something like that, right? So, like, KO I would put as a low S tier agent. He's not going to look like a low S tier agent because he's going to be there on his own for now. Now, this one is interesting, and this is the one that I think a lot of people will have, obviously, their own takes on. I feel like, based off, you know, Reddit comments and chat comments and my thoughts from what I've said before, I feel like most people think that Chamber is like an A to B tier agent. I'm going to call Haven, Icebox, and Pearl 50-50 maps, still very much up in the air. And I'm going to call Fracture a Chamber map. Now, to me, that would say probably like a solid B. Let's put him in the middle of B. Why not? Unfortunately for Neon, I kind of see, you know, the chamber changes mean the kind of rise of Jett. And I think on certain maps, there'll be like the kind of Jett Raze debate, and Neon might be slightly left out of it. To me, Neon is very much in this kind of top of C, bottom of B range. But if I put Astra in C, I feel like I have to put Neon in C as well. An interesting one with Fade, where obviously with the nerfs, we're still kind of waiting to see how that'll play out. Split is an interesting one. Now, Fade lost Bind, which is kind of a loss, because Fade probably would have been like, with the chamber changes, probably would have been a full Fade map, to be honest. You also lost Breeze, which was kind of the one, like, no Fade map. Split, I expect Fade would see some pick rate on. Does Fade need another nerf? Right now, I'm willing to say Fade doesn't need another nerf. But if you do think that, I'm not going to hold it against you. So I'm going to put Fade at the top of A, and we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Okay, Harbor. Is Harbor meta on any map? Unfortunately, no. Will Harbor see any play on Split? Probably not, but I'd like to see it. But yeah, for me, Harbor it just doesn't have a map, right? To get in the C tier, you have to have a map. Brim has Fracture, Cypher has Split, Neon has Fracture, Astra has Pearl. To get in this C tier, you gotta have a map. Harbor don't have a map. I'll throw him a bone. I'll put him above Phoenix. So that's what I see for going forward into the future. The 7th map will still have a kind of big part to play in this. And who is good on that map will kind of, finalize where this tier list is now. But knowing what we know right now, this is kind of what I think the kind of meta looks like. And that's it. That's the tier list. Deal with it.